All right, today I am here with Greg Kozachowski of K&K Racing, and he's interested in selling his 1960 Bug-Eye that he personally built. The car was a old race car 25 years ago that someone was putting it together, and then the car sat inside for all those years. And I'm going to have Greg explain in detail everything about the car and what he did. And I personally saw this come in second place at the Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix this past summer. And what was it? First in class. First in class, but he did second in overall in his class. So it was a very exciting time, and the car runs fantastic. So, okay, Greg, let's talk about your beautiful Bug-Eye here.
What we have is a 1960 chassis that was purchased through a friend of mine, and the reason I purchased it is because the chassis has absolutely zero rust on it. The spring boxes are perfect. It also, nothing was damaged to the body. There were some fender flares put on the back, but they were basically attached to the sheet metal, so nothing was damaged.
So they didn't cut that out.
They didn't cut anything out.
That's just attached over there. And we'll show you that a little more in detail back there.
The cage in this car is a TIG welded cage, which, if anybody knows anything about welding, is really an art. The man who built this cage did quite a job on it. It has some, the rear posts of the cage actually are integral to the spring boxes of the car, which are very important in stiffening the chassis, because the Sprite is a English unibody construction.
So the boxes are what rusts on these?
Everything, the water gets into certain areas of the car. People would never pull the plugs on them, and everything would rust out. And of course, in the United States, we use salt on the roads, and that's why these cars became...
They didn't last long.
They didn't last long on American highways.
So this is fairly new paint too, right?
This car was painted after I purchased it, and the paint is new to the car. It's not. It hasn't been repainted. This is. It was originally blue in color.
So you were talking about the TIG welds. You could see how nicely.
Yeah, they're all. It's almost like if you take something and glue it together, but it's really
very
highly done. Your high-end stuff is done like this.
Absolutely.
And everything is supported. All the plates on the bottom are all supported. It's got a hoop in the front. It's got a hoop in the back. It's got a complete hoop, and everything is all tied in together with rear supports and so forth. It's a very strong cage, so to speak, with intrusion bars on both sides.
And let me mention a little bit about Greg's history too. Greg's been racing and building cars for how many years, Greg?
Since 1962.
Since 1962, and he also is a tech inspector
for
SCCA, VSCCA,
VRG,
any of the sanctioned bodies here. Greg techs our cars and that. So when he built this car, it was all to safety specs and so on. And obviously you'll see that by the construction of the car. It's beautifully done. But tell us about the engine, Greg.
Well, the engine in the car is built by a friend of mine, Mr. Wally Hicks. He was an H Production national champion, and he drove a Bug-Eye. He still has it, and he is a very good, meticulous engine builder. Sometimes he's a pain in the butt because he's so particular. But anyway, he built the engine, and it's basically predicated on a 948 to be under 1 liter, using J&E flat top aluminum pistons, special cast aluminum pistons that don't have a real high expansion coefficient, or they don't expand. It's a real high grade of aluminum. Anyway, back to the engine. It's built. It's bored out to under 1 liter, but 998 cc's. It has a 300 degree cam in it, 1100 rods, nitrated crank, aluminum flywheel with a 1275 pressure plate that's been specially increased on clamping pressure, and a Kevlar clutch disc, which is a 1275 version.
Was that dual SUs?
It has dual SUs, which are modified. The cylinder head was flowed by Mr. Hicks, and is about 11 and a half to 1 compression ratio. It's a very sporty engine, and it's got a lot more potential than I put it through its paces. So it's quite capable, and it was built basically for longevity. After racing so many years and building engines that last a half hour, 45 minutes, I decided to build a car that would have an engine that I could race it for several seasons and not have to do a lot of maintenance on it, other than changing plugs and adjust the valves, maybe retorque the head.
Right.
But it was flowed, and it's got a roller rocker system in it, a 1.5 ratio. It also has a special sump, and a lot of little tricks that Mr. Hicks does to an engine to make it to live long and to go fast. It's got a 4-speed BMC straight cut close ratio gearbox.
Okay, so that's straight cut. And what's the rear ratio in it?
Rear ratio, I believe, right now is 4.5 in the
So
car.
4 or 5. Okay.
And
Excellent.
let's see. About the suspension, I guess we can speak about that. It's got heavy-duty Winter Circle hubs, or spindles rather, heavy-duty hubs, drilled rotor Brembo brakes, all new calipers. It has a Tilton dual braking system with a separate clutch master cylinder. You can bias the brakes front and rear. It's been set up to the way I like to drive it, so anyone else would have to attempt to either put an adjustable part in it so they can control it from the cockpit, or just manually adjust it. The suspension also is fully adjustable. There are Armstrong shocks that get sent out to a place in Ohio, worldwide, and Paul takes the shocks and makes them adjustable so that you can, so that the Armstrong shocks can be set up depending on the type of racing surface. If you want a real suspension or you want a soft suspension, you can adjust them. And all 4 corners are adjustable. The rear springs on the car are S springs, so they'll accommodate big rear tires. The tires on the car, the wheels are on the car are Minolite. The tires are Proxy 888s. They're basically a street competition tire. And they are 185 60 13s on the front, and on the back they're 205 60 13s.
Okay.
And it makes the car handle. The car can, it basically dances on the road. You can put it anywhere you want, and it handles very well.
You think we could fire it up?
Sure.
I'd like to hear this thing. I know this. Yeah, the paint's very nice on it. Fuel cell. And it's all metal. The car is all metal except the fiberglass flare here. But
And the bonnet is fiberglass also.
under here is the original fenders, and they're rust free. I can feel them. They feel real nice, the lip and everything. So they can always come off, retouch it up there.
The bonnet is fiberglass.
The bonnet's fiberglass.
Yes.
And it's sitting up on jack stands for the winter here. And we'll ship this worldwide. Perfect. No, it sounds great. Just remember, everybody, it's getting cold, cold in Philadelphia. So, you know, they're winterized and so on. So, car's been sitting since probably what, July or August?
Yeah, it's been sitting. I do start it up occasionally, but the last race was in July at Pittsburgh, and the car hasn't seen any action since then.
All right. Any questions, just contact us directly. Thank you.